I think we have to talk about Kyle Rittenhouse. Here's what I'll say. I'm happy to wait to talk about most of the details about who's wrong for what and whatever until when we get a court case. And now we have our court case and it's happening live and a bunch of people can listen into it. So I don't have a problem with people commenting on it. I'll say that up front. I'm happy that people are commenting on it during the court case. I think that's probably the time to do it and probably the time to start paying attention. I think it's cool that we get insight into that. I think it's disappointing to see how we meme some of the arguments that are going on in the court. Some things probably okay, like the weird veteran thing that the judge did.
I wanted to just observe that it's Veterans Day. And any veterans in the room?
I don't know if that's a normal thing, but it comes off as cringe, and it's okay to say it comes off as cringe. I'm of the Joe Rogan mindset. If something is weird, I think it's okay to just say that it's weird, because there are probably tons and tons of normal people that are out in the world, normies, that probably also would resonate with the statement, that's a bit weird. Whether or not people in the legal department think that it's normal or whatever, I think it's okay to call something weird if you think it's weird. To be dismissive is something else. I don't think saying something is weird, like the veteran thing, is dismissive. But I've seen things that are dismissive of, for instance, the zooming in comments that the judge made.
You know, the fact that I can blow something up on my phone and that it's accurate on my phone doesn't mean that the particular program used by the crime lab is doing an accurate job of increasing the size of the image.
Fairies in the phone or something like this, those comments aren't good. Making memes about like Kyle's face when he cries, a little bit edgy, I saw some that are like, this is the face he'll make when he gets raped in prison. Like, okay, that's not a good look, Chief. We all meme at different levels. If that's the way you want to meme, then okay. If you believe Kyle's lying, you believe that Kyle was fake crying, I think that's more of like a private position, if I'm being honest with you. I think that should probably be a private position. I don't think that thinking that like somebody that went through trauma is fake crying in a court case is necessarily always like a negative thing. It's probably going to be something that comes across your mind even if you believe it, right? Like, even if you were sympathetic to Kyle, I think that there's like a probability thing going in your head. And even if that probability is like less than 50-50, like some percentage of you maybe tells you that technically this could be fake because it's better for the defense or whatever. But I think that the overwhelming voice that needs to step in is like, that guy went through one hell of a night, right? And this, so obviously, were the people that died and the people that were shot. They also went through a hell of a night. If anybody involved in any of this, in the retelling of their stories, cries or has a breakdown or struggles to get it out, I would understand it. Remember, maybe it's just because I have like firsthand experience with this, right? Like I've shared on the stream before, I had a friend that I lost pretty tragically and traumatically in a motorcycle accident where we tried to resuscitate him for quite a while before medics ever arrived. It was a bloody, gnarly, thing that we had to do. The images, the sounds, everything from that day are going to stick with me till the day that I die. There are things that I see on television or when I'm riding a motorcycle that will trigger panic attacks and other things in me. I am forever impacted by that single day for the rest of my life, probably. So I understand how sometimes even retelling what seem like nothing burgers of details from that day could be things that start to make me tear up or cry or to fucking struggle to even say it. Like for a while after, I think for at least maybe a couple of years after it had happened, I struggled to even say some of the details without like starting to cry. And it wasn't until I worked on that more in therapy that I even could do that. Even if you think that Kyle did an awful thing that day, even if you think that he was totally in the wrong, even if you think that this trial should find him guilty, I think that it's still reasonable to believe that him crying and him having that kind of breakdown, it's probably realistic. It's at least within the realm of possibility more than it is within the realm of like impossibility. So I think choosing to like call it out as fake and whatever and going the extra step to say that publicly on your platform under your brand name or whatever is really, really fucked up. And I would agree with Steven in that if these are people that are proponents for victims of abuse, victims of harassment, people that suffer from PTSD, they need to take a look in the mirror. I don't think that you write them off for forever because they made this mistake about this thing. I'm not like that. Steven and I differ in that way. I don't think you should never look to these people for when they say this stuff because they're bullshitting. No, they have a blind spot that they need to work on because somebody that they hated went through that thing and they're happy. They think they are okay with making jokes about it. They're okay with calling them liars, that they're over-exaggerate. They're okay with that shit because it's somebody they don't like. And that doesn't mean that they don't care about those people. It means that that is something that they drop in their mind when they get into this kind of state where they're talking about somebody they hate or somebody they despise or somebody that their team doesn't like. We have so much of this fucking up from people that are otherwise, it seems like, pretty supportive of people with these problems or people that have been through shit. And it's very, very saddening to see them respond this way. And it's very saddening to see people who needed to wait for the trial to come out their way, to be very upset that the trial is not coming out their way, and to lash out in all these different ways that they are, making memes or talking about how the judge is compromised and this and that, and he's totally biased against, like, imagine that you're this judge. You've been put in charge of a case that is going to be broadcasted across the entire nation and scrutinized with a fine-tooth comb by both sides. So maybe that's why you're doing things like commenting on the victim word.
I think, Your Honor, if I were to count the number of times that you've admonished me not to call someone a victim during a trial, it would be in the thousands.
You made that point, and this is a long-held opinion of mine. The word victim is a loaded word. So I do, you're correct, insist upon, in every case, that the term complaining witness be used.
Maybe that's why you're doing things like saying that we should applaud for the veteran.
I think we give a round of applause to the people who've served our country.
That's probably why you also have to comment on anything that's about this person exercising their Fifth Amendment rights, right?
This is a grave constitutional violation for you to talk about the defendant's silence.
Do you realize how many people are fucking watching this court case right now? You know better than to do this. You know better than to do that. I can't just let that shit slide, dude. Like, I need to hold it down in this court. Like, A, because of the way that the court works, and B, because the country is watching this. You can't do that shit, right? Like, and that's what's going on here. Maybe that's also why we need an expert to look at the tiny fucking details on this image that we're looking at, right? Because if that's a key enough part of the prosecution's case, and maybe it should be necessary that we bring on somebody who is going to, like, say that this is admissible, that this is good, the zooming is working this way. Like, that's what experts are for. But people's brains are not jumping to the conclusions that I see a lot on Destiny's analysis of this. The conclusions that I'm seeing on other channels, I've been disgusted. I've watched VODs of some of the lefty people covering this, and I've been absolutely disgusted. And if I went through enough cycles of this, I could see how people like Steven start to have this really fucking negative vision of these lefty communities. Because it's like, if I keep seeing this every time that you guys are covering something and you're just that wrong about it, and this kind of uppity about it, and this kind of awful about it, and this dismissive of the people involved in this, it just, that would wear on me at some point. I don't often watch these creators, but this has left a very gnarly taste in my mouth for even some people that I've never seen anything but their coverage of the Rittenhouse trial. I also watched this stream, and I'm forgetting the name of it, but it was a board of lawyers that was watching the trial live and hearing their commentary on the trial and comparing that with what the lefties are saying. It's just so completely different. It's insane to me. So I've been very disappointed with the coverage of this Rittenhouse thing by a lot of lefty people in particular. Some righty people are making stupid fucking comments as well, don't get me wrong, but it's been the lefty people that have just been egregious with their memes and with their coverage and with even the serious things that they're saying. So yeah, it's left a sour taste in my mouth for that side of the political aisle. I won't lie to you. I watched the serfs. I watched Mike from PA and I've watched Bad Bunny. They're in that group. There are other smaller creators as well from that group. It's sad to me. I will comment on Bad Bunny in particular because I don't really watch anything from Bad Bunny. I've watched stuff from Mike before. I've watched stuff from the Serps before. I've never really seen anything from Bad Bunny. And some of her takes on this stuff have just been wild to me. She just says some shit off the dome that's like, Jesus Christ. The video will be playing and then just the interjection from her on some things is just like...
Crime just means that, okay, let me tell you one quick trick to eliminate all crime. Abolish all laws. Abolish the state.
Oh my God, okay. There's a lot of streamers going through a mini lefty arc now. It's a popular thing to be. I just don't think if you're a lefty, you don't have to cover this stuff in the way that you're covering it. I'll shout out Chud Logic. I think Chud Logic is a good example of like a lefty that doesn't feel the need to like jump in the fucking mass burial pit with all the other lefty content creators in a bad fucking idea or a bad fucking take on a popular topic.
What time do you want to start?
Let's hope for 1 o'clock. I don't know. Hope the Asian food isn't coming. Isn't on one of those boats in Long Beach Harbor. But let's aim for 1 o'clock.
So he's come into the court with this music playing, right? with the sellotape ties and the big fake teeth, and he's gone, "Hello," or something like that, right? And then he's done some racist joke about the Chinese food coming off the ship, and it's like, but he's not done that though, has he? He's just made some stupid joke about the supply chain, but they're acting like he's some turbo racist. They're acting like he's Steven Crowder. Now listen. He probably is a little bit racist. He's an old boomer.
You can still be a lefty and not jump on to like the lefty bandwagon with a lot of these gnarly fucking takes, dude.
If anything can push center people more right, it would be this trial and the coverage by both the left and the media. It's an absolute tragedy. Bonus meme, Kenosha Steve.
Yeah, like, what does Vosh say? Agitprop. Yeah, there we go. Agitprop. Guys, when you're on the left... You're trying to convince people over, you're trying to bring them over, you're trying to use education and modern topics and discussions and your point of view to get people to come over, right? That's a huge part of what you're doing, right? Vosh even lets a lot of leftist people get away with doing bad things or exploiting parts of the capitalist system because he says that there's a huge benefit just in educating people, just in committing to agitprop, just in getting people to come over. You're not doing that with some of the takes that you're giving on these topics. How much good you've done when weighed against the impact of the bad takes that you're giving needs to be an equation that you're considering. If you are doing all this education and whatever, and you're convincing these people, but then you lose 20% because you have this really dumb inflammatory take on a topic like this one, let's consider this. If the goal is to keep getting this to increase, maybe we also need to be very, very careful about how we handle a topic like this one, right? I just worry that you shake so many people off when you do things like this and you have takes like this. But to get back to what I was saying earlier, when we talk about something like it was dumb for him to go to try to defend property, I wish we would be more intelligent with how we can use things that Rittenhouse has said in the trial to defend arguments that we have about this. So, for instance, is it dumb to try and defend property? Destiny says, yes, we can support that by also saying, hey, look, during the trial, Rittenhouse says that he knows that he couldn't use that firearm to defend other people's property. He couldn't shoot somebody jumping on the hood of a car or breaking windows or starting fires or breaking into a business. He could not have used the firearm for any of those reasons. Even Rittenhouse knows that.
So you understand that there's a difference between using deadly force to protect yourself and using it to protect property, correct?
Yes.
And you'd agree with me that you're not allowed to use deadly force to protect property, correct?
Yes.
That's a point that we can use against conservatives in arguments about that. If it ever comes up that they defend the idea that he was defending property or whatever, we have to look and go, no, he wasn't. He said that he wasn't. He said that under oath. He realizes he can't use the gun for that reason. So let's take that off the table, right? Like, there are constructive things that we can build through Kyle's testimony and through things that have come out in the court case, right? If you are looking to be more constructive with what you could build and what you could say based on your coverage of this case, you could do a lot better, rather than coming up with these super extreme takes about it and saying things that are super awful and are going to lose you people. Are these creators just trying to reap the leftist social credit, or do you have more good faith interpretation? No, I believe they believe it. Here's the thing, party people. Lefty ideas feel like the right position. They do. To some conservative people, the idea of, you know, constitutional conservatism and stuff feels like the right idea as well, very intuitively. But to lefty people, myself included, lefty stuff feels like the objectively right thing. It feels like if we Thanos snap the next step, that's what the next step is. So it's very, very easy when you're that convinced of the direction that you're going to then be an asshole. Because you just know, you have this idea that you're just right. That's just objectively the better thing. And you have to really keep that in check. And these creators a lot of the time do not keep that in check. That's why they look really bad. So I don't think it's like to reap leftist social credit. I think a lot of people actually believe in the leftist cause and stuff because it makes sense. Do you want everybody to have food and housing and, you know, the ability to work and to receive a livable wage and to be like, yeah. Who the fuck wouldn't want that? Who the fuck looks at their neighbor and says, if you were homeless tomorrow, I would feel no way about it? Who the fuck looks at the kid that they gave birth to and says, well, if you don't get a job, you're fucked. Like, I just, you know, it's a coin toss and you better pull yourself up. You know, like, I think that we want the basic things that a lot of like lefty people start by believing in. Like, yeah, we should have housing for people. People shouldn't be homeless. That's fuck. Everybody should have access to water and food. That's fuck. Kids should be able to have all these things. That should be guaranteed to them. Everybody should be able to get a decent education that isn't tinted by propaganda or this or that. You know, like some of these hierarchies are really negative and they negatively impact people in a way that we could see. I think that racial injustice is a big thing. And we need to fix that, because if I were born black, I wouldn't want to be treated worse in America because I'm black. I wouldn't want to like immigrate to a country and then fucking get like shit on because I'm Asian or something else, right? Like, we kind of get these positions and we're like, these make a lot of sense. And I don't think that these people don't believe in them. I just think that they get lost in the sauce and they turn into assholes because they have very, very negative interpretations of people that don't believe in that stuff or choose to fight against it because it feels to them like you're fighting against free housing for people. You're fighting against guaranteeing people what I think are basic human rights. You're fighting against future. You're fighting against change. You're fighting against like the very positive direction that the society could take, and you're holding us back. I think that's how a lot of people feel, so it makes them this way. Do you think people should be able to defend property and go to counter riots with arms? I think everybody should, like, okay, European people, just close your ears for a minute here. In the United States, we have the Second Amendment. We have the right to bear arms, and I'm of two minds about this. Either we get rid of the Second Amendment, or everybody can have arms. So do I think that people should be able to go to a protest with guns? If I believe in the Second Amendment, yes, they should. Do I think counter protesters should? Sure. Yeah. That's everybody's right. Do you have a right to go and shoot people at a protest? No. Do you have a right to go shoot counter protesters? No. But you have a right to bear arms in this country. And if you believe in the Second Amendment, then you probably believe in that. If you believe it should be gotten rid of, then you come to completely different conclusions, right? Because we have it, I think that's everybody's right. Yes. Do you like? I've been in trouble for this position before, but that's where I'm at with it. I have two minds of it, and it depends on which way you go. A lot of lefties really hung up on the he brought a rifle thing. It's insane to me as a Canadian, but that's the law in America. Get over it. That's not evidence. I'm sorry. Exactly. Like, let's paint a picture that people disagree with. conservative boy throwing up the white power symbol in photographs with people, who is super duper pro cop, decides to go and counter protests against protesters, bringing a man-killing rifle with him across state lines, inserting himself into a conflict that he's not involved in a city that he doesn't live in, to defend businesses that never asked him to be there. You can paint this picture, and then people can have their opinion of it based on that picture. And if that's the first picture you got, or if that picture fits with your narrative or triggers a fucking switch in you to go off, it's a lot like if we like opened like a waterway, and now we have tons and tons of water per second flowing through the waterway. And then you're like, oh, fuck, your first impression on this was not correct. We're having a whole court case where this is going down and you're being proven wrong. And we're pulling on this lever really hard, and we're trying to get the spillway to close, and we can't because there's tons and tons of water. There is emotional energy and time spent emotionally digesting sources and engaging with these lefty content creators that keep that flow going. And because that flow has been going for so long, there's so much water and emotional turmoil flowing through there. It was the moment that we opened the switch that really caused all that. And it's just super duper hard externally to close that. That person has to go way upriver and cause some kind of change to stop water from getting through there. It takes a lot of personal work on their end. Externally to stop it, it's really difficult for us. I think the trick is that you really shouldn't be like just fully opening those kinds of spillways immediately when you read stuff about events and whatever. And I think you got to be more chill about things. But the creators on these websites are not, they don't get paid to be chill, okay? There's a reason why when I'm talking with creators, they're telling me like, if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead or whatever. If there isn't drama, if there isn't debate broiness, then a panel can't succeed. Like, they believe all this shit, they live by that shit, and they perpetuate this awful fucking cycle, right? It's very hard to break that. I took a big chance doing reviews that are going to come out days or weeks late, that are going to be super duper like in depth and 8 hours long, instead of just doing what Relly does, where like you just put the thing on the screen and you laugh at it and you make your commentary and your jokes and stuff, and then you keep moving on. Choosing to do something different takes a lot of energy and will cost you a lot, and it's not easy to expect people to do. And if everybody's just doing the same thing all the time, that's going to lead to this stuff. And again, this isn't a roast on Relly. I always go to these examples because it's like fresh in my head. Relly's not part of the problem with this Kyle Rittenhouse thing, at least from what I've seen. But like, you have to do like what Chud Logic did, where you're like, I'm not going to go with what everybody else is saying here on my side of things, because you guys are like not taking this very seriously. You're not giving an opinion that's going to be helpful to people. You're not interpreting this in a very fair way. You're losing people by doing this. You're coming off as crazy. And then he went his own way about it, right? I think more people have to do that. And you guys as viewers need to hold people more accountable. I'm not going to watch or ever contribute to Bad Bunny, because that's fucking nuts what this person was saying. Lefties wield cancel culture so fucking well, but it's a blade that I wish had thorns in the handle. I wish that by using that thing, you left a mark on yourself that will like cause some harm to you as well. The lefty people don't really take harm for doing stupid shit that they're doing as well, and I think that they should. I think that you should look around and see what content creators were saying stupid shit about this, maybe punish those people a little bit, right? Because like, some people are saying some cancelable shit over this. Like, I don't know if you should continue to like financially support some people who are perpetuating the things that you don't want to see. And if you had a sober moment of seeing what they were doing very clearly because of this case, maybe rethink what little money you have that you're giving to those people and don't give it to them anymore. Maybe rethink what little time you have left on this earth, that you don't know when you're going to die on it. You never know when something's going to crop up where you're like in serious health trouble, or you're just going to die, or you're hit by a car, or you get super sick. You never know when something is going to happen to you that's going to really limit the amount of time that you have left here. So consider that time very valuable. And do you really think it's funny enough that you want to watch somebody with an awful take who's perpetuating awful ideas, that is contributing to an awful environment that you think might be a stochastic terrorist? Or do you just want to cut him out? blocked on Twitch, blocked on Twitter, no more fucking money, no more of my time. Like, we view some people as spectacles or as punching bags, and that's still helping them. There is a hate movement around particular people, and I think that you guys need to rethink that kind of behavior that you have, because you're still helping these people by allowing them to stay relevant. What happened with K Swiftly, with that whole crew of people, right? Eventually, you got so sick of their bullshit that you just stopped watching, you stopped paying attention, they stopped doing what they were doing, whatever, because you took relevance away from them. You have to take relevance away from these people, and that's like a step on you guys as well. The audience is partially to blame for lots of this shit. For the Rittenhouse shit, if you're liking and quote tweeting people because you think they said something stupid and you're not blocking or muting them, you're part of the fucking problem. Honestly, if you're liking the tweets that are constantly talking about that stuff, you're kind of part of the problem. If you're watching one of my debate reviews about somebody and you think that they ought not to be given time or attention, you're part of the problem, and I'm part of the problem for reviewing them as well, right? Like, I think we have to realize that aspect of things as well when we're talking about this stuff. Daddy Books is mad at his kids. It's just like, I can only say so much stuff about creators. Creators aren't going to change. You guys have to change, because you guys drive what creators do. Creators will stop doing stuff if they stop getting attention or money for it, right? If you guys stop watching debate reviews tomorrow and you only want to watch gaming content, guess who's going to do gaming content? Right? So you guys impact what we do. You guys don't watch gaming content. So what do us streamers that are political people not do? Gaming content, because you guys don't watch it, right? You just got to think about that. You know, you guys push it just as much as everybody else. Do you think Rittenhouse will be convicted on the charge of playing Call of Duty? No offense. I think he's guilty.